To help me set up this trading day, Kevin Hincks live at the CBOE for our pre-bell playbook. Of course, yesterday I said 70% likelihood. Now it's even more so. Tell us what folks are saying here about the possibility of the government shutdown at midnight tonight.
Good morning, Nicole. Yeah, we don't say 100%, we don't say zero, but the probabilities of a government shutdown are rising into the very high numbers. And so it doesn't look like there's any wiggle room for either side. Remember, the last continuing resolution was passed on March 1st. And if you remember back then, there was the Democrats on the Senate, moved along and passed the continuing resolution, and then there was a lot of pushback. So I believe that that's why this is happening now, because there was such a dust up back in March. Now, what happens? Well, I believe that the JOLTS data that we're going to get today on the labor market will be the final labor market data we get other than ADP, which is a private payroll number. We probably won't get jobs data on Friday if the government stays shut down. So that's an issue. Now, from the bigger perspective, should the market or people investing in the market be worried about this? The answer is most likely no. And you can see by the color of my hair, I've been through a couple of these, and this is not anything that the normal day investor should worry about or any catastrophic effects on the U.S. economy. But a little bit of uncertainty certainly doesn't help the stock market, Nicole. But yes, this is probably going to happen. The probabilities are going higher. We'll see. There's about another, 15 hours to go here?
Look, I mean, the big picture here is it's not what Americans want. It's not what constituents want. You want things to run smoothly. The concern, too, is if the government shuts down, of course, it'll be a lot of blame game in the political theater here. But at the same time, if you remember, during Trump's last administration, there was a shutdown, in fact, and there were many government employees that used that opportunity to sort of see who maybe could be furloughed. It doesn't seem to be what the Republicans are asking for at this point. I saw them coming out with something this morning, but it's certainly a back and forth. I'm not taking sides at all. I hope they can meet some sort of center by this evening. But it does, in one sense, put some of those government jobs in focus, right? And so you start to see, and there's other things like benefits and things like that. I think if it lasts a few days, it's not a big deal. If it lasts weeks, then it becomes a big deal. Is that right?
Yeah, prepare yourself for hyperbolic headlines on both sides of what this means when the government shuts down. So are both sides at risk or to blame? Probably. Yes, it's not our job at Schwab Network to decide who's right and wrong. We just put out the facts, and the facts are there is an impasse, and it looks like at midnight tonight the government will shut down. How does it affect us? Well, jobs data that we would have reported on Friday probably will not be released. The BLS has already put out that they will shut operations if the government shuts down. So we probably won't get the all-important number one data point of the month, which is jobs data, Nicole.
Yeah, and CPI next week could also be in jeopardy. That we need that one as much. ISM services is this week, too. So we'll have a lot that we'll watch for. What about housing data? We're getting some of that now, right?
We got some housing data out. The Case-Shiller home price index came out. The 20-city adjusted month over month down 0.1%. 20-city unadjusted down 0.3%, and the year-over-year number 1.8%, a little bit less than expected. Actually, I should say that it's less than last month, but a little higher than the consensus of 1.0. Also, we just got the FHFA house price index, similar number, down 0.1%. 2.3% higher year over year. That's 0.3 less than last month. So closely monitoring the housing market, as you know we always do here, because of interest rates have moved lower. Some of the mortgage applications numbers starting to do better. We got a good housing number the other day. So housing looks like it's starting to bottoming, but prices, the actual prices, down slightly over the last month.
And JOLTS, consumer confidence, Fed speak. What are we thinking about Fed speakers?
So Fed speakers today, well, first, we'll get consumer confidence out at 10 o'clock Eastern time. We'll also get JOLTS at 10 o'clock Eastern time. We're looking for about 7.1 million job openings. Remember, that got as high as 10 million during the pandemic and soon after. Consumer confidence looking to go from 97.4. The consensus is slightly lower, 96. Remember, that's that soft data, the sentiment data that we talk about from the conference board. It tends to lean a bit political. It wouldn't surprise me if that dipped slightly because of everything that's going on and the looming shutdown. So we'll watch for that too. Fed speakers today: 4, Philip Jefferson, Susan Collins from the Federal Reserve Bank of Boston, Austin Goolsbee from Chicago, and Lori Logan will be speaking throughout the day. And of course, they'll be talking about interest rates. It happened last week. It's already happening this week. They'll do a lot of commentary on the overall economy, where they see interest rates going. Remember, we have an October Fed meeting coming up. Does that happen? Does the FOMC meet during a government shutdown? It's a little tricky there as well. So a lot of issues today, but 4 Fed speakers. That should give us plenty to think about, Nicole.
Keep it here on Schwab Network. Every minute counts. Thank you. Kevin Hincks, great to see you. And we'll catch you on the noon show.